What's up, everybody? Welcome to the last episode of my CD recap. As you can see, I'm just going to talk about these right here, so it's not going to be a long one, hopefully, but yeah, man. First album I want to talk about is Johnny Guitar Watson, Ain't That a Bitch. This came out in 1976, I want to say. Yeah, very dope album, very underrated if you ask me. He was known for the song Superman Lover, which has been sampled a lot of times in hip hop, in my hip hop R&B. Most notably, Redman sampled that, for Superman Lover series. All these years, I thought he was sitting on a dick. I don't know, but it's actually just like a slicked out couch. But yeah, this is a very, very, very good album. Very underrated. Rest in peace to Johnny Guitar Watson. And then we're gonna get the Weekend Trilogy compilation, which is pretty much the first three mixtapes in one album and stuff like that. Very, very dope. Some of the Weeknd's best works is on this and stuff like that. Yeah, man, you got. Give me 1 second. Songs like, you got the Houses of Balloons, you got the Thursday joint, and you got the Echoes of Silence. Very dope compilation. Always fuck with the Weeknd. On his good day, that's when we say that. And then we got Kanye West with Graduation. This whole thing is fucked up, excuse me. Yeah, this is Kanye West with Graduation. This is his third studio album. Little trivia, this is actually the first hip-hop album I ever had in my collection, believe it or not. Very, very dope album, one of his best albums in my opinion. And this was known for songs like Can't Tell Me Nothing, Everything I Am. It was also known for songs like, what was the joint? I Wonder, very, very dope album. Give me 1 quick second. Sorry about that, my throat was dry. But yeah, that was Kanye West with Graduation, one of his best albums. Then you got West Side Connection with Bow Down. This is a debut album. In my opinion, a classic album, West Coast classic. You got Cube, you got Dub C, you got Mac 10, doing their thing. This was known for singles like Bow Down and Gangsta Make the World Go Round. They were beefing. They were throwing a lot of diss tracks. A lot of rappers like Common, Cypress Hill, Q-Tip. They threw some shots at him. Like, this was probably the last time you will ever see Ice Cube this raw and stuff like that. And mind you, this was the beginning of the quote-unquote Don Mega era. So, y'all know how that shit goes. Then we got Westside Gun with Supreme Clientele. This came out in 2018. Very, very, very dope album, in my opinion. Dare I say, it's a modern day classic, like certifiable album, in my opinion. Yeah, man, it's just known for like songs like Elizabeth, Mean Gene, like very dope album. My introduction to Griselda, to keep it a buck with you. And then we got Willie D. This is his second studio album, I'm Going Out Like a Soldier. This came out in 1992. In my opinion, his best album, in my opinion, and this is the album where he recorded after he left the Ghetto Boys, because he left the Ghetto Boys after creative differences, money differences and whatnot. He felt like he wasn't getting his due as a songwriter and shit. This was known for songs like they don't even have a track list, and like I'm Not a Gentleman. I think that was a single. It was also known for the title track. You know, very, very raw album. One of my all-time favorite albums. Probably my favorite album from Willie D. I'm gonna be real with you. And then you have Loved by Few, Hated by Many. This came out in 2000. Again, I haven't really heard a lot from this album, so I can't really generate an opinion on it. So, but I do know that he returned to rap a lot around this time, of course. So yeah, man, this is definitely gotta do a review on this album one day. I only got that album, and I'm going out like a soldier joint. So there we got Amy Winehouse with the Frank album. This is actually her debut album. A lot of people think Back in Black was her first album, which is not. It's her second album. My opinion, probably her best album. Well, let me stop, because I feel like both Frank and Back in Black were pretty close in quality, so either or I could pick as a favorite. But to me, Frank was like the more of the soulful, jazzier. This was known for songs like Fuck Me, Pumps, Take the Box. I love that song. October Song. Very dope album. Kind of very underrated, if you ask me. I don't really hear a lot of Amy Winehouse fans talk about Frank like that. It's always, you know, Back in Black, which, yeah, Back in Black was cool. You know, it had that song Rehab and whatnot. But to me, I feel like diehard Amy Winehouse fans definitely give this album a chance. I may do a review on this one day, but stay tuned. Now we're gonna have Stevie Wonder with Music of My Mind. This came out in 1972. Very good album. You know, depending on who you ask, this was like the beginning of the classic period, because there are some people who also say that, what's the album? Talking Book was the beginning of the classic period. Which, you know what? I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna have to say this album, because, you know, he was really getting into his songwriting, you know, mostly played the instruments on his own. You know, you have songs like Superwoman, Where Were You When I Needed You. I love that track. Oh my God. Probably top 10 Stevie tracks ever. What else? Sweet Little Girl. Seems So Long. Oh my God. Like, very, very dope. You can just feel the soul on this album. Vocally, Stevie was definitely his prime at this time. So yeah, man, very underrated album if you ask me. Now the album that started it all, Talking Book, also released in 1972. Very, very good album. Known for songs like You Are the Sunshine of My Life. What kind of interesting, because that song low-key influenced Prince. Because if you notice, if you listen to the You Are the Sunshine of My Life, you have two of his band members, you know, singing one or two lines. Whereas with Prince, you know, in 1999, he's like, I want to say it's Dez and Wendy doing the first couple lines before Prince does his thing. So, very dope track. You and I, which, believe it or not, my introduction to that track was on the Good Times episode when Thelma got married. Believe it or not. Check out also the O'Brien cover of that. Very dope cover. Superstition. A little trivia about that track. That track was originally for Jeff Beck, but I think Stevie kind of took the track back, but he let Jeff Beck play guitar on, I want to say the song, I want to say either Blame It on the Sun or Tuesday Heartbreak. Either one of those two songs, but somebody can correct me in the comment section. Overall, this was a very, very, very dope album, in my opinion. Classic album, depending on who you ask, the true beginning of the classic period. Now, this album, Songs in the Key of Life, 1976. Oh my God, it's a lot of people say this is his best album. I can't argue with that, but to me, I'm more of like an Inner Visions fan. You know what I'm saying? But this album right here is a very good album. I had the vinyl version of this album too. I also had a vinyl version, but at the same time, I gave the vinyl version away. But one day, if I see it, in store, I may or may not get it again and shit. But yeah, that album was known for songs like I Wish. What else? Isn't She Lovely? Then you got Pastime Paradise. You got Ordinary Pain. This is a fucking timeless album. Definitely a top 10 R&B soul albums of all time. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was like his 19th or his 20th album, if I'm not mistaken. So that's crazy. Then we're gonna have 1980 with Hotter Than July. This came out after he dropped The Journey Through the Lives of Plants in 1979, which is like a soundtrack, instrumental, mostly instrumental album for like a documentary. That album kind of flopped and stuff like that, and even though in my opinion I feel like that album kind of gets slept on too, but I did a review on that album years ago. But this was kind of like a return to like the vintage Stevie Wonder, trying to make like a commercial album just so he can please the fans. And in my opinion, this is a very good album, very good. In my personal opinion, I call this the finale of the classic period. That's just my personal opinion. You have songs like Master Blaster Jammin', Rocket Love, Do Like You, Happy Birthday. Which, speaking of Happy Birthday, this album was during the time when he was trying to make Martin Luther King birthday like a national holiday too. So yeah, man, very, very dope album, classic. Up from the 36 Chambers, you got Wu-Tang Clan Enter the 36 Chambers. This was released in 1993 on Loud Records. Very dope album, classic album. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't even be talking too much about this, but timeless album. Like you have Cream, Protect Your Neck, Bring the Ruckus. I mean, Wu-Tang. Probably my favorite Wu album. This album. So then you got Wu-Tang Forever, which was released in 1997. Yeah, man, it's a much better album. I mean, I don't know, man, because 36 Chambers and Wu-Tang Forever, they were pretty close in quality and whatnot too. But this album was known for songs like Visions, Little Ghetto Boys, of course, Triumph, Reunited, It's Yours. I mean, this whole album was just sick in my opinion. Definitely represented 97 good. I mean, like, when it comes to double albums, I never really hear this album gets mentioned a lot in comparison to like All Eyes on Me and Life After Death and whatnot. This is probably my favorite double album in hip hop history too. So yeah, man, I definitely got to really talk about the other albums. I know I reviewed this album years ago too. So then we're gonna get into the Escapes. Yes, Humming Coming At Ya. This was released in 1993. Very dope album. Definitely had a lot in terms of the first three. This one definitely had like a more stronger hip hop edge to it and stuff like that. I definitely love this album, known for songs like Just Kicking It. What's the song? Understanding, It's My Living in Vain. I mean, definitely I'm not the biggest Jermaine Dupri fan, but he definitely did his thing on this album. Definitely a lot of slamming hip hop tracks on that. Now we come to their best album, Off the Hook. This came out in 95, man. Very dope album. You can really say vocally that all four of them were at their game. This was known for songs like Who Can I Run To, which that was the cover of the Jones Girl song too, and stuff like that. Do Your Thing, love that track. What Can I Do? And it's crazy too because watching the unsung of them, they were pretty much Jermaine wanted them to like get more of like a sexier image and stuff like that too. So yeah, it definitely worked out because you had more R&B tracks off this album. So yeah, definitely a very dope album. Then you got the last album, Traces of My Lipstick. Jesus Christ, I just hate this album cover. Oh my god. Yeah, I like this album, but at the same time, it's not a good album to talk about because they were going through like a lot of shit. Like internal conflict, You know, members want to have a solo career and shit like that. I mean, and this album too, while it is a good album, I like, they definitely try to Mariah Carey them. And what I mean by that, they have more emphasis on the ballads, like piano ballads. But like I said, like you have songs like The Arms of the One Who Loves You, Softest Place on Earth, you know, The Runaround, Am I Dreaming, which was the cover of the Atlantic Star song, which they did with Old School, and I want to say Keith Sweat was on that too. So yeah, I mean, I like it. You know, I feel like all three of their albums have something in it for everybody. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, man, if you like more of the R&B escape, that's just the best album for you. Now we're gonna get to Exhibit with his first album, At the Speed of Life. This came out in 1996. Loud Records. One of the most underrated West Coast albums. I never hear nobody talk about Exhibit's first two albums heavily. It's always Restless, and I like Restless, don't get me wrong, but I feel like Restless was more overhyped compared to the first two. I felt like the first two Exhibit albums had more of like a edge towards, you know, definitely had his own style. Like, yeah, he was a West Coast MC, but it had more of like a boom bap feel to it, if that makes sense. I love songs like Just Maintain, Paparazzi. I mean, everyone knows about Paparazzi. What's that one track? Carry the Weight, you know, At the Speed of Life, you know what I'm saying? Some of the best piano beats are on in hip hop are on this album. And I love the album cover too. It definitely had like that late night cruising. I mean, this is a very underrated album that I definitely need to talk about one day. And 40 Days and 40 Nights, that was a good album too. And that's maybe my favorite album from them, but yeah. And here we have another blind buy, Yellowjackets Dreamland. This came out in 1995. This was like a jazz album. Like I said, like a lot of these CDs I definitely need to hear. Like looking back at all these CDs now, I definitely hear a lot of the blind buys and shit like that. Cause I want to get to a point where I hear every album, CD and vinyl in my collection. So, yo, we got Make Way for the Mother Lode. This came out in 1991. Yeah, man, definitely a very good album. In my opinion, I call this album a classic. Excuse me. Personally, I kind of felt like some of the mixing on some of the albums needed to get like a remastered, but I doubt it would ever happen. You know what I'm saying? Everyone knows the song "You Can't Play with My Yo-Yo." I love that track. I love songs like "Make Way for the Mother Lode," "Tonight's the Night." You know, "Put a Lid on It." Like Yo-Yo is definitely just very slept on. And speaking of slept on, fucking Black Pearl. In my opinion, her best album. In my opinion, the album I definitely need to talk about one day. Shame on streaming service. See, this is why I tell motherfuckers, and motherfuckers are asking me why I always get CDs and vinyl, because not a lot of the shit is on streaming services. And if they do have streaming service, they cut out a lot of the certain tracks out. But yeah, this album right here is a very dope album. Very rare album too. Hell, you can't even listen to this whole album on YouTube. That's how rare it is. This was known for songs like Black Pearl, So Funky. Little trivia about that track. Tupac, actually, you know, him and Yo-Yo were pretty close, and he heard that track and he wanted that beat. But you know, of course, you know, that was already for the album. And ironically, that song uses the Zap Be Alright sample. And he used that sample for the Keep Your Head Up track too. So I felt that was kind of interesting too. You know, Woman to Woman, I Can't Take No More. I mean, very, very dope, underrated album. You know, you have beats by like DJ Pooh, DJ Muggs, and stuff like that. Muggs definitely has some underrated beats off this album. Now we're going to get to You Better Ask Somebody. Okay. Her first two albums are my favorite. I like this album, but at the same time, I personally feel like they were really trying to push the gangster image on her, the hardcore image. And Yo-Yo has always been one to have like her self-image and shit like that too. And they talked about this a little bit with like the Unsung episode too. But at the same time, this album was very good. I love this album, known for songs like You Better Ask Somebody, which I want to say that was the track where she actually responded to Roxanne Shante. Because if you guys should know, Roxanne Shante did, of course, the infamous Big Mama track, where she pretty much did every female rapper like Queen Latifah, Salt and Pepper, and including Yo-Yo. And a little trivia too, the day before that track was released, Shante actually took Yo-Yo out for dinner and stuff like that. And Yo-Yo said that she's always been cool with Shante. She didn't really take it. I mean, she was mad at first because like, yeah, you took me out to dinner, but she always showed respect to Shante and stuff too. So yeah. The Bonnie and Clyde theme with Ice Cube, that's a very dope track. Pass It On, probably my favorite track off this album. Yeah, like I said, I feel like all of her albums definitely need a remaster. I feel like the bass was a little bit too light off this album too. So, alright, let me just take all this last couple of albums and shit, because I don't have to keep reaching. Then we're going to get to Young Buck with Straight Outta Cashville. This was released in 2004. I'm gonna be quite honest. I'm not the biggest Young Buck fan. I'm gonna be real with you. This was probably like a CD lot that I got, like I want to say like 2 years ago. But at the same time too, I'm kind of grateful I got it because I do got a few G Unit albums, and you know it's good for the collection. But I'm definitely gonna talk about this album one day because like I never really heard this album. So I'm definitely going to like give my 2 cents on it. I mean, I heard Stomp before. We all know the story about Stomp. You know, that features T.I. and Ludacris. Get the T.I.P. off my... Let me stop. I'm a Soldier with 50 Cent. I mean, yeah, man, I definitely got to re-listen to this album. Now we're going to get into the last 4 rappers off this lot. You know, we got Tupac Shakur, Topocalypse Now, 1991. Very underrated album. I mean, I feel, well, this album is getting like a lot more praise in this day and age and stuff like that. But, you know, in comparison to like the latter albums, a lot of people don't really talk about this. I mean, this was known for songs like Brenda's Got a Baby, I Don't Give a Fuck. By the way, before I continue this album discussion, I want to say rest in peace to Shock G, because you know everyone knows Pac was originally a member of Digital Underground and shit. So this album definitely has like a Digital Underground sound to it, like, you know, Sons of the P, kind of like a Sons of the P kind of sound to it, if that makes sense. I love 2 songs I personally love: If My Homie Calls and the song Trapped. Definitely favorite songs off this album. Yeah, man. Topocalypse Now, very, very dope album. Then we're going to get into the most underrated album in his discography, in my opinion. Strictly For My Niggas. This came out in 1993. Very, very, very dope album. This album, originally, they were supposed to call this album Troublesome 91. Because at that time, Pac was 21 at that time.